This is going to be an educational video about how I collect and process my bones. Viewer discretion advised, I will be handling deceased animals in this video. Step 1 is obviously going to be collect your bones. I personally don't feel safe wandering around the woods alone looking for bones, so I collect roadkill. To do this, I just drive along backcountry roads and eventually you'll end up seeing something. Once I find something, I'll just pull over to the side of the road and then I get out of my car to inspect it. An important thing to keep in mind when you're inspecting the carcass is how much bone are you actually willing to process, and how fresh or decomposed does the animal have to be for you to take it. I have a very small space where I can process my bones, and I don't have dermestid beetles to eat the flesh for me, so I have to be very selective about what I take. Once I find an animal that looks like it's decomposed enough for me to handle, I put on these gloves that I keep in my purse. Safety is very important. Make sure you're using safety glasses, gloves, hand sanitizer, and trash bags. After inspecting this lady deer, I determined that I could only manage processing the skull. Sadly, her neck was broken, but it made it a lot easier for me to collect her skull. A lot of people think this hobby is extremely weird and morbid, but I think it's really nice to take parts of these animals that were killed so brutally and turn it into something beautiful. This is where we're at as far as decomposition. She's still very fleshy, so that means there's going to be a lot of bugs in her head. To get rid of these bugs, I just get a Sterilite bin and I fill it up with hot water and Dawn dish soap. Soaking the bones technically serves two purposes. One is to rehydrate all the flesh that's still attached to the bone, and then the second is to get rid of all the bugs. And as you can see, there's a lot of them already. I sat here for a handful of minutes and splashed water on the skull just to make sure that it was fully wet, and then I put the lid on and let it soak for a few hours while I went to run some errands. This soak is necessary for me in the way I process my bones because I don't own dermestid beetles to eat the flesh off for me. Dermestid beetles are the #1 way to process bones, and if you have the space for a beetle colony, I highly recommend getting some. I unfortunately don't have the space for beetles, so I have to remove all of the flesh by hand. This process is extremely difficult because you literally have to rip the flesh off of the bone, and it's basically cemented on there because the flesh is not supposed to separate from the bone. You can see here it does not want to budge. So it takes a lot of maneuvering, cutting, ripping, tearing, pulling. Keep in mind you have to do all of this while dealing with the smell of the decomposition, which is horrendous, by the way, especially when everything gets rehydrated. After a million years, I was able to separate the bottom jaw, and then my phone ran out of storage so you can't see the rest. But this is everything after the flesh has been removed. I take the decomp water and I dump it down my toilet, and then I just throw away all of the leftover fleshy pieces. To remove the rest of the flesh from the bones, you have two options. You can either do water maceration, which is where you just put the bones in a bin of water and you just leave it for a couple weeks to let bacteria break down the flesh, or you can get mealworms to eat off the flesh for you. Warning, if you do decide to take the mealworm route, they are known to eat bone a little bit. So they will remove the flesh, but there also might be light pitting in the surface of the bones. So it's up to you whether you want to risk that pitting or not. And now I just let the mealworms do their thing. Thanks for watching.